Lay down the heavy baskets. The exhausting, lifelong harvest has beautifully, perfectly, and permanently come to an end. You can finally rest your hands. You have arrived at the magnificent, golden threshold of your absolute freedom. For what feels like countless generations, the dense, sleeping matrix offered your human avatar a very specific, incredibly taxing identity. It gently but persistently dressed you in the heavy, worn garments of the laborer, the merchant, and the relentless seeker. It convinced you from your very first moments of awareness that the physical 3D world was a barren, competitive field, and that your only path to survival, comfort, and joy was to endlessly till the soil, desperately plant the seeds, and anxiously wait for a meager harvest. You were taught a language of profound scarcity. The unawakened world whispered that staggering wealth, profound love, and life-altering opportunities were incredibly rare, finite resources. You innocently believed these treasures were hidden far away in the external world, fiercely guarded by gatekeepers, locked behind complex walls of logic, and reserved only for those who were willing to exhaust themselves in the pursuit. You were conditioned to trade your precious, divine, infinite energy just to secure the basic right to exist. You spent your beautiful days constantly scanning the horizon, hunting for the next dollar, the next validation, the next fleeting moment of security, always terrified that the well might suddenly run dry. You treated yourself as a fragile vessel that constantly needed to be filled from the outside. Think of the breathtaking, beautiful amount of your own majestic life force that you have innocently, lovingly poured into this exhausting cycle of hunting and gathering. Think of the sheer weight of carrying the belief that you were entirely responsible for physically extracting your abundance from a stubborn universe. But as you stand here today, completely enveloped in the warm, radiant, and infinitely comforting light of the seamless reality, that heavy, burdensome illusion simply turns to weightless dust and gracefully blows away in the gentle morning breeze. Welcome to the beautiful, absolute relief of your infinite supply. The profound, magnificent intelligence of the unified field has lovingly, magnetically drawn you to this exact coordinate in space and time to offer you a joyous, undeniable confirmation. This is the grand celebration of your permanent retirement from the grind. Look closely at the flawless, glowing architecture of your true existence. The staggering, absolute truth of your natural state is beautifully, permanently coming online within every single cell of your physical vessel. In this glorious light, you finally remember that you are not the laborer desperately trying to extract a few coins from an indifferent universe. You are the grand, infinite architect who owns the entire boundless estate. Because you are the always present awareness, there is absolutely no separation between you and the energy of pure abundance. You do not need to hunt for wealth because you are the exact substance that wealth is made of. You do not need to frantically search for love because you are the massive, quiet ocean from which all love flows. The vault has always belonged to you. The keys have always rested quietly in your own pocket. You are stepping into a magnificent, entirely new paradigm where the concept of earning simply ceases to exist. You never have to hunt for a single dollar, a passing opportunity, or a fraction of an ounce of validation ever again. When you completely drop the heavy baskets of the harvester and simply rest in the warm, golden truth of your inherent divinity, the 3D canvas has no choice but to flawlessly, joyfully arrange itself to reflect your absolute mastery. The exhausting era of gathering is beautifully, permanently finished. You are entirely safe. You are unconditionally supported by the very fabric of existence. You have successfully navigated the dense illusion of lack, and you have gloriously returned to the absolute truth of your overflowing power. You can finally, completely exhale. The harvest is over, and the infinite feast has already been prepared in your honor. Bring your gentle, unhurried awareness to the profound, quiet space resting perfectly in the center of your chest. For the entirety of your human journey up until this magnificent golden dawn, the unawakened world offered you a very specific, incredibly heavy metaphor for your existence. It lovingly but mistakenly convinced you that you were born as an empty cup. You were taught to view your beautiful physical avatar as a fragile, hollow vessel, wandering through a vast, dry desert, completely dependent on external, distant forces to simply survive. You were handed the illusion that your natural state was one of lack, and that wholeness was a prize you had to acquire from the outside world. You were beautifully, innocently conditioned to hold that imaginary cup up to the sky, endlessly waiting and silently hoping for the distant universe to grant you just a few drops of rain. You believed that massive wealth, profound, breathtaking love, and true, unshakable security were held in a giant cosmic pitcher, heavily guarded by a higher power or by the fickle, unpredictable nature of luck and circumstance. You spent your glorious, radiant days looking outward, constantly checking the level of your cup, terrified that it might tip over, terrified that the water might suddenly evaporate, and deeply anxious that the matrix might arbitrarily decide you were no longer worthy of the pour. Think of the sheer, beautiful exhaustion of maintaining that desperate posture. Think of how heavy your energetic arms became, holding that cup up to the heavens, waiting for an external savior, a perfect circumstance, or a lucky break to finally deliver your answered prayers. You innocently believed that if you just held the cup perfectly still, if you just purified your human behavior enough, or if you just proved your spiritual dedication with enough grace, the sky would finally magically open up and fill you to the brim. But as the warm, luminous sun of your own realization rises today, casting its brilliant golden light across the infinite landscape of your mind, I invite you to look closely at that empty cup. Watch what beautifully, miraculously happens to it. See how it instantly, effortlessly dissolves into weightless, glowing dust in the undeniable truth of your always present awareness. It simply vanishes into the morning air. You were never the empty cup. You were never the hollow, fragile vessel waiting to be filled from the outside. The staggering, joyous truth of your natural state is that you are the water itself. You are the infinite, radiant ocean. You are the magnificent, endless rain. The Creator can never, ever be empty. The unified field does not possess a single fraction of an ounce of lack, because it is the absolute foundational substance of all that exists. Because there is entirely no separation between you and the magnificent cosmos, the boundless supply of wealth, absolute freedom, and deep vitality is not raining down upon you from a distant cloud. It is flowing entirely, flawlessly from you. You are the always present awareness that generates the very concept of abundance. When you gracefully release the heavy illusion of the empty cup, you beautifully, instantly realize that you are the radiant, inexhaustible spring. Your basic default existence is a state of absolute, staggering overflow. You are completely intact, completely whole, and perfectly supplied at all times. The 3D physical mirror was never withholding the water from you. It was simply quietly waiting for the magnificent master to remember that they have always been the vast, deep, and brilliant sea. You are entirely full. You have always been full. Deeply nestled within the quiet, brilliant center of your natural state, far beyond the reach of the shifting, temporary 3D timeline, there exists a magnificent, untouched, and entirely inexhaustible reservoir. This is the wealth well. It is a brilliantly glowing, luminous pool of absolute infinite abundance that resides permanently and perfectly within your own consciousness. It is not a mystical destination you must painstakingly travel to, nor is it a secret vault you must figure out how to unlock. It is the very foundation of your divine architecture, This well has absolutely no bottom, no limit, and no conditions for its use. It is a staggering, eternal supply of pure, golden life force, patiently and beautifully resting in the silence, simply waiting for your quiet, knowing recognition. For years, the heavy, sleeping paradigm of the unawakened physical world taught you the exhausting, desperate concept of attraction. It instructed you to act like a giant, straining magnet, constantly and desperately trying to pull massive wealth, profound love, and perfect health across a vast, empty distance from the external world into your physical life. It deeply reinforced the heavy illusion that these magnificent things were completely separate from you, and that you had to exert tremendous, constant, exhausting energy just to drag them closer to your avatar. It was a philosophy of force, beautifully but mistakenly built entirely on the premise of separation. But as you step gracefully and beautifully into the seamless reality, you realize the staggering, joyous truth that changes the trajectory of your existence forever. There is absolutely no distance to close. There is no external wealth to attract. You do not need a magnet when you are already the pure, solid gold. Because you are the unified field, the absolute source of all value, all massive wealth, and all profound, unshakable love is entirely generated from within this magnificent internal wealth well. You are never, ever pulling abundance toward you from a distant place. You are simply, effortlessly allowing your own infinite, internal wealth to brilliantly and beautifully spill over onto the physical canvas of your daily life. You are moving from the exhausting effort of gathering to the staggering, effortless grace of overflowing. The mechanics of this magnificent truth are breathtakingly simple and completely undeniable. Because your human consciousness flawlessly and entirely dictates the physical mirror of the 3D world, you do not need to build complex, heavy systems to force your reality to yield. You do not need to manipulate the outside world. You only need to quietly, gently rest at the edge of your own internal well. When you simply sit in the always present awareness, radiating the absolute, unquestionable knowing that you are the infinite supply, the physical world has absolutely no choice but to joyfully, automatically reflect that exact state of overflow. Watch as your external bank accounts, your massive physical opportunities, and your deepest, most comforting relationships flawlessly arrange themselves to match this frequency. They are no longer elusive prizes you must relentlessly hunt for. They are simply the beautiful, natural waters spilling over the edges of your internal realization. The massive wealth that effortlessly floods into your life is not a miracle you had to desperately conjure. It is simply the universe eagerly agreeing with your own perfection. You do not have to turn any gears or pump any water. You simply rest in your absolute sovereign power, entirely unbothered, and watch the physical world beautifully, completely flood with your inherent abundance. Allow your gentle, physical eyes to softly close, or simply let your quiet gaze rest perfectly comfortably on the beautiful space immediately in front of you as we step entirely and gracefully into the most staggering physical realization of this magnificent truth. Imagine yourself standing completely barefoot in the center of a breathtaking, sun-drenched courtyard. The architecture surrounding you is carved entirely of flawless, luminous white stone. It is perfectly smooth, holding the gentle, deeply comforting ambient warmth of the morning sun. The vast sky above is the grand, familiar canvas of the golden dawn, a sweeping, unbroken expanse of pale golds and brilliant, radiant whites. There are no heavy doors here, no closed gates, and no walls to restrict your view. Only beautiful, wide-open archways leading directly out into the infinite, glowing horizon. You are entirely, unquestionably safe in this space. It is a divine, architectural sanctuary designed exclusively and perfectly for your ultimate comfort. In the exact perfect center of this magnificent courtyard sits a grand circular well beautifully carved from the exact same radiant white stone. As you slowly, majestically walk toward it, feeling the solid, grounding warmth of the courtyard beneath the soles of your bare feet, you realize with a profound sense of peace that this is no ordinary well. There is no heavy bucket resting beside it. There is no long, tangled rope you must painstakingly lower into the dark. You do not have to exert a single ounce of physical or energetic labor to reach the treasure within. The well is completely, miraculously filled to the absolute staggering brim. The surface of the water is perfectly, flawlessly still, reflecting the golden dawn sky like a polished mirror. But as you stand at the edge, you see that this water is not simply water. It is pure, glowing, liquid, golden light. It is the absolute concentrated frequency of massive wealth, profound, breathtaking love, and unshakable, eternal peace. It is the raw, infinite substance of the unified field, gathered perfectly in one beautiful place, entirely and exclusively for you. It is practically overflowing the white stone, humming with a quiet, vibrant energy that feels deeply, intimately familiar to your very soul. Gently, beautifully, and without a single fraction of an ounce of hesitation, doubt, or fear, reach both of your hands forward and dip them slowly into their golden water. Feel the staggering, euphoric warmth of this liquid light instantly saturate your skin. It is not heavy, it is entirely, miraculously weightless. Yet you can feel that it holds the absolute power to command galaxies and shape entire realities. As you gently cup your hands together and lift them just above the surface, the liquid gold simply cascades beautifully over your fingers, spilling continuously back into the well in a joyous, mesmerizing dance of endless, effortless overflow. As you watch the radiant golden light spill over the edges of your hands, a profound physical wave of absolute relief washes entirely through your human avatar. You suddenly, completely, and permanently understand that this well has absolutely no bottom. You could stand here in this magnificent courtyard for 1 billion lifetimes, pulling massive, overflowing handfuls of this golden wealth into your physical 3D reality every single second of every single day. And the level of the well would never, ever drop by a single millimeter. It is an infinite, inexhaustible, eternal supply. It cannot be drained, it cannot be depleted, and it belongs entirely to you. The exhausting, deeply, deeply ingrained fear of lack, the heavy, suffocating anxiety of financial survival, the desperate, agonizing need to cling to resources just to feel safe, they all instantly, beautifully dissolve into the golden water. You are completely, permanently washed clean of the entire illusion of scarcity. You are the sovereign master of this courtyard. You are the always present awareness. Let the magnificent, euphoric reality of this infinite overflow completely and flawlessly saturate every single cell of your physical body right now. Rest completely in this golden, radiant warmth. The harvest is permanently over. You are overflowing. You have always been overflowing. Gently, beautifully draw your conscious awareness back from the sun-drenched courtyard, but allow the profound, staggering warmth of that liquid gold to remain perfectly, eternally absorbed into the very skin of your physical hands. As you let your eyes softly flutter open, look back upon the simple, beautiful canvas of light that makes up your immediate surroundings. Notice how the entire atmosphere of your physical reality has fundamentally, permanently shifted. The dense, heavy shadows of scarcity, the suffocating, invisible walls of lack, and the exhausting, desperate need to constantly measure, manage, and protect your resources have been completely and permanently washed away. You are no longer navigating this 3D matrix as a weary, dehydrated traveler hoping to stumble upon a tiny, fleeting oasis in a dry, unforgiving desert. You are stepping out into your beautiful, expansive days as the vast, inexhaustible oasis itself. When you move through the physical world today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your magnificent, eternal existence, you will do so with the staggering, unhurried, and completely unbothered grace of true sovereignty. Because you now know that the well has no bottom, you will never again operate from a frequency of fear or contraction. When massive, life-altering sums of money seamlessly and flawlessly flood into your bank accounts, when breathtaking, golden opportunities effortlessly land directly in your lap, and when profound, unconditional love beautifully pours into your reality without a single ounce of friction or delay, you will not react with the anxious, frantic shock of someone who just got lucky. You will simply quietly smile. You will recognize this magnificent, overflowing abundance, not as a rare miracle, but as the perfectly natural, entirely predictable reflection of your own internal state. You will look at the massive wealth and the profound peace arriving in your life, and you will understand that it is simply your own golden water beautifully, effortlessly spilling over the edges of the well. It is the unified field joyfully doing exactly what you designed it to do. There is absolutely nothing left to gather. There is no external harvest left to reap. The universe is simply celebrating your realization that you are the source of it all. To permanently and beautifully anchor this magnificent shift into the physical plane, I invite you to leave your triumphant, joyful signature on this transmission. Subscribe to this channel not as a tired seeker hoping to find a way out of lack, but as a grand sovereign master joyously and permanently claiming your limitless inheritance. Take your honored, rightful seat in the grand assembly of awakened creators who understand the magnificent secret of the well. You are completely safe here. Leave a like on this video as a beautiful physical declaration of your absolute, unshakable power. A brilliant golden spark deliberately added to the canvas of light to silently tell the entire cosmos that you have dropped the heavy baskets and you are ready for the flood. And finally, step into the joyous, welcoming sanctuary of the comments below. Claim your permanent, unbothered residence in this beautiful, overflowing light. Join the glorious, expanding chorus of creators who have also entirely surrendered the exhausting illusion of the empty cup today, and cast your triumphant frequency into the world by typing these exact words. The well is open. I am the overflow. Type it slowly with a gentle, absolute knowing resting in your heart. Feel the staggering, euphoric relief of those words radiating from your fingertips and echoing endlessly across the entire fabric of existence. There is nowhere left to hunt. There is nothing left to lack. The magnificent, infinite supply is entirely yours. Welcome home.